Let me just say, and I'll get back now to the topic. I'll stop chasing that rabbit. Let's get back so I can wrap this up tonight for you. So you can get home and watch the football game and maybe Paula White's coronation. The people of Iran were the geniuses that created the game of chess. If you've ever played chess, you know how chess works. It's a game where you master techniques and planning and scheming and maneuvering until you can bring your opponent in a checkmate. One of the best ways to describe it, it's a game of long-term thinking. And it's a game in which you have to give to defeat. It's very interesting that game is the Persian or the Iranian master game. Now, when you consider the fact that Ahmadinejad believes that he has been chosen by Allah to destroy the United States and to destroy Israel, you've got to understand what we're up against. Now, keep in mind, where does this man reside? He resides right under the seat of a spirit called the Prince of Persia. There is a stronghold of hell. Now, when Ahmadinejad was elected as president, just a few weeks later, he was invited by the UN to come and speak back in 2005. I want to read to you what he says in this speech before the UN. Now, if you were with us last night, we talked about his one where he just spoke last September, just a few months ago. But this was his first time speaking. Here is what he says. Dear friends and colleagues, from the beginning of time, humanity has longed for the day when justice, peace, equity, and compassion envelop the world. All of us can contribute to the establishment of such a world. When that day comes, the ultimate promise of all divine religions will be fulfilled when the emergence of a perfect human being who is heir to all prophets and pious men. He will lead the world to justice and absolute peace. Listen what he says. He bows his head at that point in front of the leaders of the world. He prays, Almighty Lord, I pray to you to hasten the emergence of your last repository, the promised one, that perfect and pure human being, the one that will fill this world with justice and peace. And as you've known, if you've paid attention, every single time Ahmadinejad comes to the UN, he opens and closes his speech with the same declaration that the Imam Mahdi will come. Matter of fact, he names them now every single time. Now keep in mind that the scripture told us in Daniel that the Antichrist will come in peaceably, and he will attain the kingdom by flatteries. Now this is very important because if you were not here last night, I'm going to read this quote to you again from the former chairman of the UN. The UN, the United Nations, that was established right after Israel becomes a nation. We know that this will be the seat of authority in some way that will unite the worlds together. Somehow the Antichrist no doubt will have a part of this system. But notice what the chairman said. And this is the chairman of the UN, folks. We do not want another committee. We have too many already. What we want is a man of sufficient stature to hold the allegiance of all people and to lift us up out of the economic morass in which we're sinking. Send us such a man, and be he God or the devil, we will receive him. At which point, I will tell you folks, Satan wants that to happen. And he is getting his man prepared. Now we know for a fact that the Bible tells us in Daniel's account that he will magnify himself in his heart. He will be associated with pride. He will be associated with allegiance of people and demand that from people. Even though he may be corrupt to the core, he may be filled with perversions and abominations, it says, and by peace he will destroy many. You know, it's so amazing to me that the universal sign of peace, which got really established around the 60s, it's always been the white dove. That's always been, for thousands of years, the symbol. But all of a sudden, during the Haight-Ashbury, flower power movement and all this stuff, suddenly we see this associated. It's an inverted cross. It's called the Cross of Nero. It's been around for about 1,500 years. It's the symbol that's used in the occult. You take the cross, you turn it upside down, and you break the two arms. That's the symbol of Antichrist. Well, it just so happens that now universally is called the symbol of peace. Now, isn't that bizarre? Because the Bible talks about lying signs and wonders that will be associated with the Antichrist. You go to any school tomorrow, ask any kid, draw me a peace sign, and that's what they'll draw, an inverted broken cross. Because, the deception is so bizarre. Now, let me just tell you, the Bible tells us this way, that when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them. So we know that there is something up. Now, this is obviously the actual backbone of the force, the spirit that's behind this leader. Now, if you remember, I told you that when he was elected back in 2005, he did his first conference. And he spoke right after his election on what he titled World Without Zionism. Zion, by the way, is named for the hill where Jesus was crucified on, the part of Mount Moriah. It's the city of Jerusalem, the city of God, Mount Zion, all the titles for the Jewish people. And when they talk about a world without Zionism, they're talking about a world without the Jews. To erase, as we read in Psalms 83, to erase the memory of Israel, to come against their nation, to annihilate them. There's a spirit behind it. Well, I want you to notice, as he's standing there, you can see the Islamic writings below, the English writings, A World Without Zionism, because they want the Americans to know what we're about. And they are gladly going to illustrate by the little icon over to the right. It's like an hourglass, and what you see there is the globe in the top, and out of that globe falls two very broken symbols. The first one to fall, though, is the American flag, and the second one is the Israeli symbol. And you can see, as Ahmadinejad makes this statement, as his presidency was in full swing now, he says, they say, is it possible for us to witness a world without America and Zionism? But you had best known that this slogan and this goal are altogether attainable and surely can be achieved. Now think about what he's saying here. Well, again, that was what? 2005. That would have been 7 years ago. Now think about this for a second. Where has Iran come in the last 7 years? Where they're at right now is very close to a nuclear capability. Now, I want everyone to listen, and I'm almost done, so please give me undivided attention. When Ahmadinejad gets a nuclear weapon, and it's no longer could he, but it's when. Right. There's no longer a debate that they can do it. They've proven they can do it. But when he does, do you think he's going to use it? Yes. If you don't know the answer to that, let me make it a little simpler for you. Would Hitler have used nuclear weapons if he had access to them? Okay, well, guess what? This guy's got that same spirit all over him. It is the spirit of hatred to Israel. Now, I will tell you, without any fear of contradiction, God's going to intervene in this situation. Israel is not going to be wiped out. That doesn't mean that America won't be, because his first target is not Israel. His first target is America. And I will tell you with fear in my heart that I do believe we are very vulnerable right now. Number one, because of our spiritual condition as a nation. We have definitely turned our back on God. We've been warned by prophets and men of truth for decades now that judgment's coming. Intense judgment is coming.